Ever stumbled into a light shop at the end of a sketchy alley only to find it's the crossroads between the living and the dead? Nah, me neither. But that's what the 2024 Kdrama light shop throws us on. Picture this, a bunch of strangers, each wrestling with their own past demons, get mysteriously drawn to this all-night light store run by our shopkeeper, Jungwon Young. Spoiler alert, the dude can tell if you're alive or kicking the bucket just by how a light bulb flickers. Talk about mood lighting, am I right? At the center of this show is the theme of grappling with past traumas. It's like the showrunners peeked into my therapy sessions. Each character's journey through their haunted histories feel like a metaphorical group hug for all of us who've ever wrestled with our own shadows. It's like they're saying, hey, it's cool to have baggage, just don't forget to unpack it. So grab your emotional flashlight and a bag of shrimp chips, because Light Shop is about to illuminate those dark corners you've been avoiding. And remember, if a mysterious light shop beckons you in the dead of night, maybe it's time to face those inner ghosts. Or, just binge watch the drama and call it a day. Ever had those nights where you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling wondering if you left the oven on or why you said that dumb thing in 3rd grade? That's child's play compared to the existential crisis buffet this show serves up. Each light bulb in the shop represents a person's life. If it's flickering, you're on the edge. If it goes out, well, game over. The shop's owner isn't just some dude selling LEDs. He's like the bouncer between worlds, deciding who gets to stay and who has to leave the party. And the visitors? They're a mixed bag of the living, the dead, and the I can't believe it's not butter in-betweeners. It's like a cosmic DMV, but with better lighting. Now, let's talk about the big glowing metaphor in the room, the light bulbs. These aren't your run-of-the-mill Home Depot specials. They symbolize the will to live. If your light bulb's shining bright, you're good. If it's dimming, you might want to check your life choices. And if it shatters, well, let's just say you're not coming back from that. It's a heavy-handed metaphor, sure, but it hits harder than my last attempt at adulting. The show doesn't just stop at personal angst. It dives into the interconnectedness of our lives. One person's decision can light up or snuff out someone else's bulb. It's like a messed up Christmas tree where one faulty light screws up the whole strand. Makes you think twice about ghosting your group chat, huh? And speaking of ghosts, Light Shop throws in a twist. Some of these wandering souls are stuck because they can't let go of their past regrets. It's like they're doomed to roam the afterlife, replaying that one time they called their teacher mom. Dark, right? But also kind of relatable. So what's this show telling us? Life's fragile. One minute you're shining bright, the next you're a shattered bulb on the floor. Maybe it's a reminder to face our inner demons before we end up in some metaphysical light shop, bartering for a second chance. Or maybe it's just a trippy show that's way deeper than it has any right to be. Light Shop isn't just about some supernatural convenience store for the existentially confused. It's about the burden of being alive when you feel half dead inside. And not in the I stayed up until 4 a.m. watching TikToks kind of way, though that's also its own brand of self-inflicted misery. Nah, this is about the real stuff. Regret, guilt, the inability to move on, and the silent scream of every overworked soul just trying to keep their light on. The show doesn't waste time sugarcoating it. We are all one bad day from that flickering light bulb moment. The drama isn't subtle about it either. If your inner trauma has reached critical mass, your actual life light bulb starts doing the sad little dim and flicker thing, like a last desperate gasp before checking out. The thing is, Light Shop isn't about wanting to die. It's about not knowing how to live. It's about walking around with a busted circuit, pretending everything's fine until, surprise, your metaphorical bulb shatters and you're standing in the middle of an existential Home Depot wondering if you should just replace the whole wiring system. Now, let's talk about the shop itself. This place is the definition of a liminal space, aka the weird in-between zone where nothing feels real and everything is unsettlingly familiar. It's where people teeter on the edge of life and death, choice and regret, past and future. Ever walked into a 24-hour gas station at 3 a.m. and suddenly felt like you were in a parallel universe? That's the Light Shop vibe. Except instead of selling overpriced Gatorade and old hot dogs, this shop offers a chance to confront your demons, or, ignore them and let the universe decide your fate. No pressure. The show makes it clear. Life isn't a neat little on-off switch. It's a constant state of almost moving on, almost making peace, almost forgiving yourself. And that's where people get stuck. Not quite dead, not fully alive, just trapped in the awkward middle like the human version of a buffering YouTube video. A running theme in Light Shop is that past trauma doesn't just exist, it actively hijacks your entire system. Think of it like this. Trauma is that one annoying background app on your phone draining all the battery even though you're not using it. You're just trying to live your life, but this thing keeps running, overheating your system, making everything slow and glitchy. The characters who find themselves in the shop all have one thing in common. Their past is unfinished business. And in true poetic justice, that unfinished business is what decides whether their metaphorical light bulb keeps glowing or straight up explodes. What makes it worse is that most of them don't even realize they're running on empty. You ever see someone pushing a car down the street and think, damn, just call for a tow truck? That's these people, just trudging along, ignoring the fact that the engine has been dead for miles. One of the wildest parts of the Light Shop world is how second chances aren't guaranteed, they're bartered for. Some people get a shot at redemption, others get a big old nah fam from the universe. A lot of stories like this play into the fantasy that everyone can turn things around if they just try hard enough. But Light Shop says LOL no. Some people, no matter how much they regret, no matter how much they wish they could go back, don't get a do-over. And that is terrifying. At the same time, it makes you think, if second chances were a limited resource, would you even deserve one? Have you earned it? Or have you been coasting through life expecting the universe to hand you one just because you finally decided to care? Here's where Light Shop messes with your head. It's not just about whether you live or die. It's about what happens after. The show hammers home a harsh truth. Being gone isn't the real tragedy. Being forgotten is. Some of the souls that wander into the shop aren't just scared of dying. They're scared of erasing. Of being that person whose absence is only noticed when someone has to clear out their apartment. Of realizing that their entire life, all their memories, their pain, their love, it was all just a temporary flicker in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes the dead don't even know they're dead. They're just vibing, haunted by their own regrets, not realizing that their own guilt is what's keeping them there. Haven't we all felt that? Haven't we all carried something for so long that we don't even recognize how heavy it is anymore? Some of us are out here being our own poltergeist, haunting our own lives, refusing to let go of the things that already happened. The worst part? The show makes it clear that nobody can let go for you. There's no cosmic janitor coming in to sweep away your baggage while you sleep. You either deal with it or you stay stuck in a loop of self-imposed purgatory. Throughout the show, we see people bargaining with fate. Just give me one more chance, one last moment, one final day to make things right. But Light Shop doesn't play by those rules. This place is like, nah, you had time, you just wasted it. Which is brutal, but also kind of true, isn't it? We all walk around like we have infinite chances to fix things, to say what we meant, to show up for people who needed us. But then suddenly, time's up. And all that's left is whatever you did before you realize how much it mattered. It's not about how much you wanted to do better. It's about whether you actually did. Now, you'd think a show this dark would just leave us in a puddle of emotional despair. And it kinda does. But also it doesn't. Because despite everything, the regret, the loss, the unbearable weight of the past, there's still hope. Not in the cheesy, everything's gonna be fine kind of way, but in the even broken light bulbs can be fixed kind of way. Light Shop doesn't promise happy endings, but it does suggest that even when you think it's too late, maybe it's not. Maybe you can change your wiring. Maybe you can replace your busted bulb. Maybe you can finally flip the switch and choose to actually live. I wasn't ready for this. I came in thinking Light Shop would be some cool supernatural mystery, maybe a little emotional, but nothing I couldn't handle. And yet, here I am, sitting in the dark at 2 a.m., questioning every single life choice I've ever made. This show didn't just hit me in the feels. It rearranged my entire mental furniture and left me standing in the wreckage like, was any of this set up right in the first place? The thing about Light Shop is that it doesn't just ask big philosophical questions. It forces you to confront them in a way that sticks with you. And I know it's just a show, right? Fiction. But it's the kind of fiction that sneaks into your brain and starts knocking on doors you thought were locked. One of the most brutal things Light Shop did was force me to acknowledge just how much I avoid dealing with my own past. And I don't just mean the big, obvious regrets. I mean the tiny ones that build up over time. The ones you convince yourself don't matter until one day you realize they're part of the reason you feel stuck. There's a moment in the show when a character gets their life status checked, which, side note, I'm glad that's not a real thing because I don't think I'd like the results. That hit hard, because how many of us think we're fine? Just a little tired, just a little unmotivated, just a little lost, when in reality, we're running on fumes. This show made me sit with the idea that maybe I've been coasting. Maybe I've been putting off certain emotions because dealing with them is inconvenient. Maybe I've convinced myself that things don't bother me just so I don't have to do the work of unpacking them. That realization sucked. Okay, so one thing I wasn't expecting Light Shop to do was trigger my chronic fear of wasting time. You ever get that gnawing thought in the back of your head that you should be doing more? Like, even when you're being productive, even when you're handling your responsibilities, there's this quiet panic that you're somehow not doing life correctly. That's the kind of existential dread Light Shop feeds. It doesn't just ask, are you happy? It asks, are you actually living? Or are you just letting life happen to you? Do you know what's important to you? Or are you just hoping to figure it out later? What if later never comes? I was just trying to enjoy a drama, not spiral into a self-evaluation of everything I've ever done or failed to do. But there's a truth bomb in there that I can't ignore. Most of us assume we have time. Time to change, time to grow, time to fix things. We tell ourselves that one day we'll get around to it. But Light Shop reminds you that time is not a guarantee. Some people don't get a second chance. Some people don't get the closure they were waiting for. Some people don't wake up with a new perspective. They just don't wake up at all. If there's one thing I actively try to avoid in life, it's thinking too hard about the past. Not because I've done something crazy, but because I'm one of those people who will randomly remember something cringeworthy I did 10 years ago and immediately want to throw myself into traffic. So when Light Shop threw its characters into a situation where they literally had to face their own unresolved baggage, I was like, oh no, no. But the show makes a brutal point. Your past is always with you, whether you acknowledge it or not. You can pretend you've moved on. You can ignore the things that still bother you. You can convince yourself you're fine, but eventually it catches up to you. Maybe not in the form of a mystical light bulb flickering out, but in the way certain thoughts creep up on you when you least expect them. That's what scared me the most, because I realized I have a bad habit of letting unresolved things sit there hoping they'll just disappear on their own. But the truth is, they don't. They just take up space in your brain, slowly draining energy, waiting for the right moment to remind you they still exist. One of the heaviest themes in Light Shop is the idea that sometimes people die with regrets they can't fix. And worse, sometimes their biggest regret is that they weren't enough for the people who needed them. There's this undercurrent throughout the show that suggests even good people can fail the people they love. Not because they're cruel, not because they're careless, but because sometimes you don't realize what someone needed until it's too late to give it to them. And I hate how much that resonates. Because when I think back, there are people in my life I should have been there for more. People I should have reached out to. People I should have asked, hey, are you really okay? Instead of just assuming they were fine because they never said otherwise. The show doesn't offer any easy answers for that guilt. It just holds up a mirror and says, yeah, you feel that? Sit with it. Which is kind of unfair, but also maybe necessary. Light Shop doesn't just explore what happens when someone dies. It explores what happens when they're erased. There's this recurring fear in the show that's honestly worse than dying. The idea that one day no one will remember you. That you'll just be a name on a piece of paper, a vague memory, someone who existed once but doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. That got under my skin in a way I wasn't prepared for. Because isn't that the fear that sits at the core of everything we do? The fear that when we're gone, nothing we did will have mattered? That we'll just be another person who once lived? It's terrifying. And it made me ask some questions I didn't like. Am I actually living in a way that means something? Have I made enough of an impact that someone will remember me? If I disappeared tomorrow, would it change anything? I don't know if I like the answers. Alright, here's the $1,000,000 question. What's actually keeping your light on? And I don't mean electricity or caffeine. I mean, why are you still here? What keeps you going? What stops your metaphorical bulb from flickering out? Before watching Light Shop, I didn't think about this kind of thing too much. Life just happens. You wake up, you do stuff, you stress about money and relationships and that one embarrassing thing you said 3 years ago, Then you go to bed, wake up, and do it all over again. You don't always stop to ask why you keep doing it. But this show smacks you in the face with the idea that not everyone has an answer to that question. Some people are just running on autopilot. Some people are running on empty. And some people are barely running at all, hanging on by a thread, hoping something, anything, gives them a reason to keep going. Here's the thing that really got me. In Light Shop, the people who show up aren't the ones dramatically screaming about their problems. They're not throwing fits, begging for help, or doing some over-the-top last-ditch attempt to be saved. Nope, they're just there. Half of them don't even realize they're in trouble. They just feel off, like something's missing, like they're supposed to be doing something else with their lives but can't figure out what. And then suddenly, they're standing in a weird-ass light shop at 3 a.m. being told that their actual existence is running on low battery. And that's the terrifying part. What if you don't realize your light is dimming until it's too late? Nobody likes admitting they're struggling. Nobody wants to be the guy at the party who brings up their existential dread between shots. You just keep going, keep grinding, keep pretending everything's fine. Until one day, you're in the metaphorical equivalent of the light shop and the universe is like, hey bro, we need to talk about your life expectancy. And that thought, that's the kind of thing that keeps you staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. wondering if all those I'm fines were actually true. A big part of the drama's message is that awareness isn't enough. You can't just realize your light is flickering and expect it to fix itself. You have to do something about it. And that's the part that sucks, because we all want some magical turning point, some grand revelation that suddenly makes life easier. We want to wake up one day feeling fixed, like whatever was broken inside us just decided to heal overnight. But Light Shop makes it painfully clear. Nobody else is going to fix you. You're either going to deal with your unfinished business, your regrets, your unspoken thoughts, or they're going to deal with you. And by deal with you, I mean drain your light until there's nothing left. And I hate that. I hate that responsibility. I hate knowing that at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to do the work. Because that means no matter how much I want to procrastinate my personal growth like it's a college essay due tomorrow, there's no extension on this assignment. So here's my personal take. I don't have all the answers. I don't know what my big light sustaining purpose is. But what I do know is that I'm still here. And maybe for now, that's enough. Light Shop doesn't say you need some grand reason to exist. It doesn't say you have to be perfectly happy or fully healed or completely sure of your purpose to deserve to stay. It just asks, are you still willing to try? Do you still care, even a little? Is there something, even something small, that makes you want to stay? And if the answer to any of those is yes, then your light is still on. Maybe it's dim, maybe it's flickering, maybe you're in dire need of an emotional electrician. But if there's something, anything that makes you want to wake up tomorrow, even if it's just to see what happens next, then you're still in the game. In my book, that's a win. I started this whole thing with a question. What's keeping your light on? And maybe you don't know. Maybe you're still figuring it out. Maybe you're realizing for the first time that you've been coasting without checking the brightness settings on your own existence. But here's the thing. You have time to figure it out. Maybe not forever. Maybe not as much as you'd like. But you're here now. And that means you still have a chance to change the answer. And if Light Shop taught me anything, it's that as long as there's still light, there's still hope. So what are you going to do with it? Thanks everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. Also be sure to check out my other videos for more insight on other dramas and shows. Your support means a lot to me and it helps me grow this channel. If you have any thoughts, questions, or suggestions for future videos, please drop them in the comments down below. Again, thank you for watching this video and I'll see you next time.